is a correct transition. There could have been some missteps. Maybe it was, maybe we should have taken an extra 1 or 2 years to make sure that we get the teachers on board, all the other facilities on board, but that's now water under the bridge. That's why it was also a conversation in this election, and I took the decision that for us to get professional advice, let us put together a presidential working party of educationists and other stakeholders. And they have done a good job. They've talked to teachers, they've talked to parents, they've talked to other stakeholders, people who run schools and everybody else, and it was unanimous. 86% of 20,000 people that were engaged said they wanted the junior secondary to be near the parents, because many of these children are still young. Their parents need to look after them, to make sure that they are fine. And also, it reduces on the cost of education. You know, if you have to take your child to a school, you know, far away, maybe in a boarding school, it costs more. So I think the unanimous decision was made, and I believe that that is the correct decision. We also agreed that that transition is going to happen for all our children, you know, that are in grade 6. They will all transit to, because we still insist on the 100% transition. They will move to junior secondary. And as government, we took the decision that we are going to hire an extra 30,000 teachers, the largest ever, to make sure that that transition is not only smooth. And next year, we're going to hire another 30,000 teachers, just because of budgetary reasons, to make sure that our education is seamless. That presidential working party, I also tasked them, not just to look at CBC, but to look at our TVET institutions, to look at our university institutions, the whole education sector, because that is the sector that makes Kenya what it is, right? So apart from the transition and the CBC, the which has been my pet project, and I pushed it ever since I was Minister for Higher Education, slowed down the last 4 years because of politics, you know. But now we're going to hire another 2,000 tutors this January to make sure that we are up to date with the skills and competencies that are being taught in our TVET institutions, especially those focusing on engineering, because that's the direction we are going.
All right, before we get to TVET, Mr. President, let me take you back to the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. They are recommending that grade 7, 8, and 9 be domiciled within the primary school setup. Now, you mentioned that the Teachers Service Commission has advertised 30,000 positions, and these include interns and those permanent and pensionable as well. But does this address the gap? Because this would mean then that we need more teachers to address the within primary school than we may need to address the transition to secondary schools. Do these 30,000 teachers fit to address this transition to both primary and secondary school?
Absolutely. In fact, the Teacher Service Commission are the professionals. We give them the latitude to decide how many of the teachers will help in the transition to junior secondary, how many of the teachers will assist in the continuing secondary education, and how many of them will go to primary. So that is the decision of professionals, and it is the expertise that we have in the Teacher Service Commission is able to tell us where the numbers are. Of course, we could do with a lot more teachers, and that is why I'm saying phase 1, we're going to hire 30,000. Next year, we're going to hire, and progressively, as we committed ourselves in our manifesto, by year 5, we will have hired 110,000 additional teachers.
A very important transition.
To make sure that that whole transition metrics goes on.
Mr. President, a very important transition bit for the class 7. And of course, the report on ground is that then the government will be hiring teachers, like one teacher for every class 7 class. Of course, this is a big transition. How then will they manage 14 subjects for these very students, understanding very well that specialization angle?
Of course, the resources will be shared, between the secondary schools that exist at the moment. We are also going to work we have teachers who have already graduated to degree level who are teaching in the primary. Mm-hmm. We are going to identify those teachers to come and support the junior secondary transition. Mm-hmm. So we have sat down for long hours with TSC. They have mapped out how many teachers are diploma teachers who are teaching in primary, mm-hmm. how many are graduate teachers who are teaching in primary, who can now support the junior secondary. How many can we transition this way, that way? And what can we do to make sure that we leverage on the employment that's going to happen next year? So all that is mapped out because it is important for us to provide a transition for all our children and ground our education properly. And as I speak to that point, allow me just to speak about our university education. Part of what we have informed the Presidential Working Party on education reform is to make sure that they give us the correct recommendation, because our position is that we should be able to create a merger between the TVET funding board, the university funding board, the higher education loans board, because all these boards are putting students in this university, they are putting students in that college. This one is organizing bursary, and nobody is talking to nobody. We need a system that ensures that we are taking so many students to college X. That's why we are giving them so much money, and that's why we are allocating so much bursary, so that our education is grounded on sound economics. As we talk now, most of our universities are bankrupt. Egerton University, one of our universities, the CEO has been taken to court, is almost in jail. And the reason is we are giving between 52 and 55% of the requirements of our universities. It is time we sat down and assigned all our universities the students that we have the capacity to fund and to give bursary.
Right. Still on junior.
Otherwise, if we continue this way, we are going to lower the education of our universities, and it's going to affect our human capital development, and that we don't want to do.
Still on junior secondary, Mr. President, what should parents expect in supporting their students in junior secondary? As we speak right now, we have parents across the country who are in limbo because their schools their children are in do not have facilities, adequate facilities for them to transition to grade 7. Now, these parents will be staring at perhaps transferring their children to different schools, which again is a cost they did not anticipate. How will the government work about this to ensure that every child remains in school?
Michelle, I don't think a parent will be advised to transfer their children to any other school. Because number one, we do not have a shortage of classrooms. Yeah? We have, in every primary school, we have an extra classroom for grade 7 to go to. That's number one. We are sorting out the teachers. We are sorting out the curriculum. That's all in place. The only thing that is going to be pending, and we intend to have a conversation with our members of parliament, is to build for them within 1 year a laboratory. Yeah? In fact, it is possible to convert some of the extra classrooms that were already built into laboratories. Mm-hmm. And it is possible for schools that share the same compound, the secondary schools, for the grade 7 to carry out their laboratory work in the secondary school. So we have all manner of permutations to make sure that we sort out this transition. I am not saying it is going to be, I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but I want to promise you it's doable. We have all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. Everybody is working seamlessly, and I want to thank members of parliament. They are very keen to support this transition with their allocation of CDF.
Mr. Transition to the next topic. On that education matter, you're talking about bringing together the University Fund, TVET Fund, and HELB. According to the current budget, the University Fund has been allocated 91.2 billion shillings, or rather University Education, sorry, HELB 15.8 billion shillings, TVET capitation 5.2 billion shillings. And I'm just wondering, even if you put the body that is financing students together with the body that is financing these institutions, at the end of the day, it's a question of resources. So how does that resolve if your government cannot allocate revenue?
Already, we are pushing the resources that are available for loans board, to 21 billion. Yeah, that will be reflected shortly. We are also working with the university, and that's why I made it a subject of the Presidential Working Party, because we need some candid talk and firm decisions on how many students should we admit, yeah? How many students can we fund? And how much money can the bursary we have, how many students can the bursary we have support? So that we don't send students to a college or a university, and there is no commensurate financing to support their education. It is just basic logic. So this is the conversation that we need to have. And in my opinion, it should be possible, as you place a student, you must also know, is there funding for the education of that child? And is there supporting bursary to make sure that that child finishes that?
But we have situations, Mr. President, where universities like Mount Kenya University will have more students in the School of Medicine than the University of Nairobi. What's your take on HELB supporting students in private universities more than those in public universities?
That's the conversation we're going to have.
Ultimately, Mr. President.
That's the conversation we are going to have, because we need to interrogate, how feasible is it for government to support so many students with little money instead of supporting the number of students that they can with adequate resources to make sure that they get the correct training. So that's the conversation we're going to have. And we're going to have it with public universities, and we are going to have that conversation even with the private universities. And possibly we could, where we are not able to finance, we have to be honest with ourselves. Let me give you a practical situation, Michelle. We have students in academies. They pay 100,000, 200,000 a term, right? All through, from standard 1 to Form 4. But when they go to university, we want to tell them we can pay for all of them. Why? If a parent is able to pay for their child in primary and in secondary, why don't we allow them to pay for their child in university? So that we support the children of the people who cannot afford. Why, for example, would my daughter or son of William Ruto be given bursary in the university when William Ruto can afford? Or for that matter, Ken Michungu here, or James Smart. I'm sure that you guys can. So we really have to be honest.
Mr. President,
we really have to. Now, allow for me to ask this question, Mr.
We really have to be honest with that, and I'm sorry if I say.
No, that's an interesting conversation.
We really have to be honest with ourselves.
Right.
That let those who can afford pay.
Okay.
We're positive.
Let those who cannot afford, let us think of how do we support them, rather than pretending that we are able to support all the children, even when we are not in a position to.
Mr. President, can Michungu allow me to come first?
Okay. Are you telling me Michungu wewe huwezi kulipia mtoto wako kwa university? Wewe sasa hii mtoto wako kwa nini kwa academy alafu unasema nini?
All right. Okay, Mr. President, we are positive on getting it right.
Yes.
Ultimately, it's about making sure that we have students that are well-baked for the job market.
Absolutely.
For, the world out there. We have lots of skills today. We have lots of experience, but not fully utilized. What are you doing to make sure that then, after all said and done, these skills, this experience will be utilized for economic growth?
3 things. Number 1, we have to drive our industrialization and manufacturing value addition agro-processing agenda. It is a big part of our plan. And that is why I have set the Ministry for Investment, Industry, and manufacturing, you know. The Ministry of Investment, Trade, and Industry. Because, and I have put there an investment banker called Moses Kuria. Moses Kuria, when he's not a politician, is a very serious professional.
Oh, yeah?
Right? And I have confidence that him and his team of PSS, I have given him 3 PSS, very serious people, they will deliver on that agenda. We want to reverse the slide back in our manufacturing. You know, our manufacturing has gone down as a percentage of GDP from 9% to 7%. We have agreed with the ministry, we have agreed with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we have agreed with KEPSA, we have agreed with everybody that we are going to do a 20 by 30. We are saying by 2030, manufacturing should be contributing 20% to our GDP. That's the plan we have. That's how we are going to create the jobs. You're saying that we have so many skills. That is why I have also moved forward the completion of the Dongokundu, for example, a special economic zone where we are estimating to hire maybe 30, 40, 50,000 people. From being completed in 2028, I have pushed our development partners, JICA and all that group, to make sure that it is ready by 2025. That is why I am pushing the industrial city in Naivasha. Already, we are working with our textile industries. We are working with our leather product industry. You may want to know, Linda, that we are wasting close to 50% of all our hides and skins being eaten by dogs, being buried. When we are buying shoes, we are buying leather products that we should be producing using our own labor, using our own raw material from our own animals. We slaughter 3 million livestock every year. We are the 3rd largest livestock holder as a country in Africa. We should be able to take advantage of the raw material that we have, run our industries, and make sure. And I have given KPIs. And that is the conversation, by the way, we are going now to synchronize tomorrow with my cabinet. We're going to have 3 days of sitting down on how to deliver on the plan, ministry by ministry, priority by priority, with the timelines, with costs, to make sure that we don't disappoint the people of Kenya. And finally, I have told you about diaspora, for example.
Right.
You know, that is a resource that we can use. Kenyans are outstanding everywhere they go, whether it is in the tourism industry, whether it is in the hospitality industry, whether it is in whatever other industry, they stand out globally. That's why I'm saying we have a resource. You know, I intend, just 1 minute, Sam. I intend to drive the agenda to make sure that we leverage the many Kenyans who have skills, as Linda has said. We get them working everywhere in the world. That's why I've set up the Pora. And I have put there a PS. And I have told her she has no other business. She must get Kenyans working everywhere. And every Kenyan who is working everywhere must be serviced by the government of Kenya. I intend to raise, by God's grace, the 400 billion to 1 trillion. Then we will be talking business. So we will be creating jobs locally, and we will be driving our jobs agenda internationally.
Okay, Mr. President, let's make progress and talk about the security situation in the country. And recently we had some sentiments from the new Inspector General that you appointed. He was talking about the police and defending themselves. We also had the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, saying that the police must protect themselves, do not provoke them. And this is coming at a time that it's just over 100 days that you said that there will be no extrajudicial killings in this country. So when IPOA comes and complains, then they're called busybodies by officers that you've appointed. How do you explain that? And what is the agenda of the government moving forward to ensure that there will be no such kind of activities?
Let me repeat. for the avoidance of doubt, there will be no extrajudicial killings in the government of Kenya under my administration. Yeah? That is a chapter we must close and weld and bold and put it behind us. The police, I have sat down with the command of the police from the IG downwards, and we have agreed that they will operate within the law. Operating within the law includes defending themselves. Yeah? They are licensed to use firearms to deal with criminals, but to also defend themselves. Because if they don't defend themselves, they won't even be there to sort out the criminals. So let us not, I don't think the Deputy President or indeed the IG said that they want to continue with extrajudicial killing. That is not our policy, and we are all aligned as government. I have, as an administration, I have said we are going to respect and we are going to work with all institutions that makes sure that government works in the manner in which that's supposed to work, respecting the rule of law constitutionally. So the Independent Police Oversight Authority has our support. We are going to fund them. We are going to support them. And already, I have told them that they must begin to give us a program on the investigation of how we ended up with close to 200 Kenyans being killed and dumped in rivers. They must come. They must come to the country and tell us, right? And so whenever you find this institution maybe saying something contrary with another institution, that's the beauty of democracy. That's the system of checks and balances. That's why the opposition, sometimes they don't agree with me or they don't agree with government, but that does not mean that we have war, you know? It is this is how the system is meant to work. Every institution is supposed to check the other institution.
Mr. President,
and to make sure that everybody has a constitutional mandate. Everybody must operate within their constitution. If the constitutional mandate of IPOA is to make sure that there are no excesses in the police, that is their duty, and they must carry out that duty.
Mr. President, I'm here wondering, you have been a subject of harassment by police officers and some of your allies too. And police officers claimed they were following or operating within the law. When you say that in defending themselves, they're operating within the law, it appears like there's a way police understand the law and how Kenyans understand to you is, give a clearer direction when you say that they can defend themselves within the law, because sometimes operating within the law has different meanings.
The police not can, they must defend themselves. That's the law, you know. They must defend themselves. They cannot put themselves at risk, you know, and be able to continue being a police force that helps us sort out our security. But, yes, I have been a subject of harassment by the police. But you heard me. I spoke clearly, with clarity, and I told the IG and all the commanders who came here from every county that they have no business carrying out political orders. Let them go and read the Constitution and read the law, you know? And I have told them there is no government person or opposition person. We are all taxpayers. They must protect all Kenyans the way they protect the president. Yeah? Whether they voted for the opposition or they voted for the government party, that's not the place of the police to go and choose and pick. All Kenyans, irrespective of how they voted, are taxpayers. They are entitled by right to protection under the law by our security agencies. And they have it very clear. I have told them, I have called the provincial administration, the national government administration officers, from the regional commissioner to the county commissioner, and I have told them, it is not in their place to play politics. Yeah?
His Excellency, are you aware?
They must respect every elected leader, whether they are elected, and work with every elected leader, whether they are elected on the government side or on the opposition side. An elected leader is an elected leader. And I have told them to support government activity, government programs. That is their business, to make sure their IDs are issued, all the other government services are delivered in all areas, irrespective of who voted in which place. I have also told them they must support government, county government functions and programs. Mm-hmm. Because a government is a government, whether it is run by a person in the opposition party or a person in the governing party, it is a government at that level. And the provincial administration at that level must support government activity, where national and county, because that is how we are going to grow Kenya. Government functions, government programs that support the people of Kenya must be supported by all government people.
Mr. President, are you aware that we have about 750,000 pistols and rifles in private hands, of course, more than the police and military combined? And of course, this is according to a survey, a Geneva-based small arms survey. And the biggest worry, and of course what it is that experts then dictate, is that sheer volume of guns is a national security concern. If everybody were to go out and protect themselves, the police within the law, the people, Kenyans who seem to have lost faith in the aspect of security, that's why they'll go around, in search of guns and all that, some of them unlicensed. What would it mean?
For your information, Linda, we have, the reason why we have a government is that so that we can delegate some of the functions to some people. Yeah. Otherwise, if it becomes everybody for himself, then we stop being a nation and we stop being a state, and we just become something else, mm-hmm. Right? So, small arms is a big challenge, correctly. Not in Kenya, in our region, and the use of proliferation of illegal firearms in the wrong hands is part of the challenge we are facing with even the cattle rustlers, the terrorists, and all these other criminal. And that is why I said earlier in the Kiswahili interview that we have purposed ourselves, and the CS, Professor Kindiki, his peers, Mr. Omolo, are properly guided on what we should do as government to rein in on these runaway crooks and ensure that we deal with them decisively. We have made huge strides. As I told you, I was in Baringo in December, and they were saying for the last 7 months we have slept, But let me also tell you that it is not over until it is over. So we will keep upping our game. There is need for us to upgrade some of the equipments we are using. There is need to enhance our mobility for our security forces. It boils down to the budget, And that is why I am really focused on sorting out the economy, because that way we will have the resources to sort out our roads, to sort out our security, and to sort out the things that are dear.
C.S. Kindiki Kithure says, and I quote, "We cannot afford to have a country where citizens live in constant fear, and we will not spare any effort, even if it means using the KDF. The Constitution dictates that the KDF are then released only as a last resort, and of course to restore peace, but with approval of the National Assembly. Article 241, 3C of the Constitution. Is the banditry menace as bad and severe such that the government would consider KDF?
It is serious, but it hasn't reached the threshold for us to go to Parliament to get KDF involved. We, however, are sharing information, from intelligence from all sides. We are sharing And in some of the areas, we are making the decision that it's good to have security installations in some of these areas. Like, for example, in that whole North Rift, we're going to have some of the training facilities for our security agencies to cement government presence in some of those areas, and to make sure that whenever we need to deploy, we are not deploying from afar. So there will be, for example, a garrison being built up by the army in Lodwar. There will be another garrison that will be built in the Suguta Valley, to make sure that people feel, because security is also presence, real presence. So we are deploying, all manner of interventions and strategies to make sure that we manage our security.
Why don't we have a commission that, of course, a commission of inquiry that then would look into the extrajudicial killings, now that you mentioned the River Yala cases, and as well the involvement of IPOA and IMLUs and all that?
I already had a thorough meeting with IPOA, and we have agreed with them that it is not necessary for establish another task force when IPOA is there, and it is squarely within their mandate to tell us how did Kenyans end up being killed in this manner. And then it was business as usual. 30 bodies in Yala, there's 17 bodies in Garissa. I don't know how many bodies where. People, there was a container here at the Nairobi area. People were being slaughtered in a police station. How did we end up there? What kind of rogue, institution? And that is why I fired that Kinoti man, because, it's not right, good people.
Should there be responsibility more than just firing?
Of course, there will be responsibility.
He did not resign? You fired him?
We'll have another.
Okay, can we move this forward, Your Excellency? Since you're talking about security and talk about we have involved in DR Congo, we have interest in Somalia. What's our game plan? What exactly are we doing in this?
Smart. We, as a country, and maybe many Kenyans have been wondering, I have been to DRC, I have been to Uganda, I have been to Ethiopia, I was in South Sudan. Kenya has the largest economy in this region. And we have huge interest in the stability of this region. If this region is unstable, the biggest hit will be on our economy. Apart from that, we need to pacify this region so that the East African community can become a real market for our products. We are having a big conversation about Dongo Kundu, about Naivasha Industrial City, about our manufacturing, about all the other facilities that we are working on. Those products have to be exported somewhere. We are looking at how do we grow our agriculture, agro-processing, our tea, our coffee. Where are we selling these products? We have to be interested in creating that market. And that market has to be in a peaceful place. So the reason why we have an interest as a nation, and I am actively, driving the stability of this region. I spoke on not yesterday, the day before yesterday, with the president of Sudan, and agreed with him that it is time to have an IGAD meeting for us to help our brothers and sisters in South Sudan. I spoke first with the president of Ethiopia on what we are doing as a country to support them with what is going on in Tigray. I am in constant conversation with the president of DRC. We have soldiers in DRC who are supporting the stabilization of that region. Uganda has soldiers, South Sudan has soldiers, Burundi has soldiers to pacify the region. So regional peace is a very important component of our economy.
But highly pegged on the political situation, the transitions that we witness, such has not been guaranteed to the people in terms of the electoral processes. Perhaps that's the reason why we celebrate our previous election. Just what will be done to make sure that even the political transitions then are properly done to guarantee us a regional peace?
Precisely, you know, you don't wait until you have a problem. You manage the situation ahead of time. So we are, whatever we are doing, whether it is in DRC, whether it is in the rest of the region, is to make sure that we are not taken by surprise by anything. Okay. You know, that we are mobilizing the region, and we are mobilizing international support also for our regional peace initiatives to make sure that Kenya contributes, you know, our bit in making sure that our region is stable, so that we can drive our economy, we can drive trade, we can drive investment, and we can support and build our economy.
Okay. One word on the Somali and, of course, our very own spillover.
Somalia is a very interesting situation, and we now have a leadership in Somalia that are working with us. And we're not only working with the president of Somalia, we are very happy that he's now consolidating even with the regional presidents in Somalia, so that we jointly attack the Al-Shabaab menace. We are very happy that at least we have some synergy and agreement. And we have taken the position that Somalia is a problem for Somalia as it is a problem for us. We cannot afford to look away. We cannot afford to walk away. We have to deal with that challenge, because if we don't, it will get to our doorsteps. We are lucky that we are keeping it at bay because of our intervention. Otherwise, it would ride all the way to you know where.
Mr. President, allow me to bring you back home and discuss another topic matter that is of importance.
Thank you.
As soon as you were elected president, there was a phenomenon that happened. The cases were collapsing left and center. And these cases were of corruption in nature. And then other coincidence happened. Once you nominated some people, their cases were also withdrawn. I don't know what you feel about that and what you have to say about that.
You know, when we talked about this, it looked like it was politics. You know, there was a huge push by the former administration, our friends, you know, to use the criminal justice system to run their politics, you know, and to fabricate, you know, cases against people merely because they didn't agree with your political side. You know, it is in the public domain, my brother. Many governors, they were called, yeah, we are going to do this, we are going to start a file. You must be in Azimio. You must be in Azimio. You must. The reason why Azimio is definitely going to collapse is because it was built on quicksand. It was built on threats, blackmail, intimidation. So, to answer your question, is if the criminal justice system was used, today, the people who are supposed to give evidence against these people are saying, we can't give evidence because we were forced to say this and this and this as against this person because it was, we were forced to say so. Otherwise, our jobs were going to be on the line. So, I mean, so how do you support such a case? What are we supposed to say, prosecute this person anyway, you know? So, and it is not for me, by the way. It's not for me to decide. There is no single case I have been asked. And for your information, I have told cabinet here, I have told my cabinet ministers, I have told the DPP, I have told the EACC director, I have told the DCI. Normally, before somebody is arrested who is working in government, the president is informed, you know, so that he can say something. I have told them, don't call me.
Okay.
Read the Constitution, read the law. If somebody needs to be prosecuted, whether he is minister, whether he is PS, whether he is whoever, apelekwe kotini.
I want to ask a follow-up
I
question.
don't want to be asked anything.
And
I have told the criminal justice system, I have told my sister, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, I will never call her to ask her for any favor on any case. The only conversation maybe I will ask her is, if a case is taking too long, is to ask her, please expedite. We are not telling you rule this way or rule this way.
Okay, Mr.
Expedite the case, rule in whatever way, so that we know whether we are going left or we are going right.
Mr. President, I accept your premise that these cases were politically motivated, as you've said. Why isn't the DPP being asked to take foundational responsibility? Because that office took cases.
There are things I cannot speak on national television for other reasons. Yeah. But if I told you, for example, that already the DPP had been asked to hand in his resignation, you know, if he doesn't prosecute this case and this case and this case, you know, I mean, it was just an ugly situation, and I pray that Kenya never again goes to a place where the criminal justice system is used to manipulate politics.
So
we must never be there.
Yeah, I just want to ask this before I allow my colleagues to get into this. The question that you bring us now to the public is, we have to trust you that you're not using that same office for political expediency. That is what you are forcing us to do as a country, because we don't know the details.
And if there are signs that my office is being, it should be called out. That's why I am an open book. That's why I want a vibrant opposition. How we got here? Because of the handshake nonsense. My good brother, Bwana Smart. We got here because you get the opposition, which is supposed to hold the government to account, into some illegal, you know, cohabitation, or whatever it was called, you know, in the name of unity. What unity? You know, who says by having an opposition, we are not united? So Kenyans voted in this election, right? There are as many people in Azimio as there are in Kenya Kwanza. So are you going to fault Kenyans that they caused disunity? The Kenyans voted.
Mr. President.
So it is now up to us leaders to figure out, this is the decision of Kenyans. Kenyans have said, you guys go and run government. They have said, you guys go and check government. Okay. Let us appropriate our responsibilities to the cause.
Yes, just as one final question on this, because we have to clear this up.
And let me say it looking at Kenyans.
Yeah. That's your camera.
The office of the president will not be used to use the criminal justice system against my opponents, any political purpose.
So the guarantee here...
And that I can sign off as William Ruto. It will not happen.
The guarantee here...
You know, I have enough people to help me do politics. You know, I have first myself. You know, I am a politician. I know what to do with politics, right? I don't need the police. I don't need the criminal justice system. You know, I can go and speak to Kenyans. The way I spoke to Kenyans, you know, persuade them, sell them my view. They have my track record. They know what they want. They know. And for your information, just allow me to say this.
Please.
Why you find that the people of Kenya are really energized asking, you know, about things about my administration, is because the people of Kenya know me and they know what I am capable of doing. And they judge me by very high standards. You know, if it was just another guy, They wouldn't mind if he did one or two things right, because they would say, okay, maybe this guy anyway has tried. But for me, I have to do things at another level, because they know what I'm capable of doing.
Yeah, I think the reasons that we're asking this, and to finish this sequence of questioning on the rule of law and accountability, is you actually put in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and you said yourself that you'll establish within 30 days a quasi-judicial public inquiry to establish the extent of cronyism, state capture, and such things. It's well past 30 days.
It is well past 30 days. When you come in the space where we came in, you know, the events of August 15th, were horrible, you know, because even the military institution had been roped into the scheme to sabotage the will of the people of Kenya because of that state capture menace, right? If Chebukati were to tell you the kind of hell, yeah, if the day the story of August 15th will be told in Kenya, you will know why I am delaying. Yeah? Because now I have to balance between the economy. You know, we are almost in the red. You know? Or do I swing this big thing that will drain our energy? I want to promise you that that story will be told one day. This state capture will be done one day. But
you'll establish the commission?
We'll establish the commission one day. But where we are as a country, I have to balance. You know, if you were to sit where I'm sitting, James, yeah, you would know why I have to go slow on certain things to allow the country to get out of the mess we are in, you know, without overloading it with so many, you know, so many other issues. Our plate is full, you know, so I have to kind of balance, you know, but I want to promise you that story.
Okay. Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
The political system that we are in, I mean, straight after your cabinet, what is the coincidence that I'll just mention three names? Your own deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, in fact, he's getting his 200 million shillings back. Aisha Jumo, your cabinet secretary, and Mithika Linturi, your cabinet secretary. These were cases, not one. Some had multiple cases in court. You want to tell us that you didn't have a hand in their clearance and the stalling of those cases?
Let me look again at the people of Kenya. William Ruto, the president of Kenya, had nothing to do with the cases that were dropped by the DPP against not just the three, any other case.
Okay.
And you can sit with my good brother Nurdin and ask him directly whether he has received a call from me to tell him, drop this case or drop that case.
Do you think it's just natural, Mr. President, that Rigathi Gachagua, who was just the other day a member of parliament, is now the deputy president, and his cases are falling? And obviously Kenyans will suspect there's a hand of the president and the government of the day.
Also Kenyans know that the criminal justice system was mobilized by the former administration to achieve political ends.
Okay.
Otherwise, for your information, with all these cases, how did we get ourselves elected? I mean, if all this was true, are you telling me 7 million plus Kenyans who said, no, these people are the right people to lead our country? Are you telling me our election was done at night?
How different
or,
from
or, in,
2013?
or in a dark place.
From
you know,
what you said.
What I am telling you is the people of Kenya can decipher between what is right and what is wrong.
Okay.
Right? What is right, what is wrong, and what is right. And if my good friend Rigathi Gachagua had anything to do with that matter, these people would have jailed him long time ago.
Okay. I'll talk about your deputy in a... But tell me, from what you have said, based on James Smart's questions, you support a very strong political system.
Yes,
you
I
want
do.
the opposition to sit on their side. You want to do your work. And if you do this, why is it that political parties are complaining that they haven't received their funding? If you really intended on supporting these political systems, why can the political parties, which your political party that brought you to office is one of the biggest, I believe it's also affected, but the other smaller parties are complaining first quarter, second quarter, third quarter of the funding in the offices. This is a sabotage. You don't want them to grow, yet you support a strong political system.
So it is sabotage, says who, and
The
by,
political parties that are
and by who?
Political parties that are
Yes.
saying they haven't received the first quarter,
Yes.
second quarter, and third quarter.
Have they also told you that even my own party has not received any funding?
You're the ruling party.
Yes, even the ruling party has not received any
You're the
funding.
ruling party. Perhaps you have funding. Them, they're outside the government.
From
They
where?
need to survive.
Let me tell you, Ken, I am a very big believer in building political parties as institutions of governance. In fact, a country, a democracy, a government is as good as its political party or political system. You know? It is the way we are going to detribalize our politics, is to build political parties strong, credible, issue-founded political parties. That's what we should do, right? And on this, I have said not once, not many, not once, not twice. On this, I have said you must give credit to my former party called ODM. We started ODM together with others. Yeah, at least they have gone. You know, they've existed for long enough. Unfortunately for me, Jubilee, which was my party, was destroyed. You know, by characters there. So what I am a strong believer of parties as institutions of governance, and sure that there will be adequate resources always
For the political parties.
political parties.
Okay.
The challenge that we have is money was provided. It was sent to the ORPP, you know. But the challenge is some parties went to court to quarrel about the amounts. Surely, as somebody who respects the rule of law, do you want me to go and override?
Okay.
You know?
How does this...
So, the same way I am waiting, the court have taken, the people have gone to court, I cannot appoint CASS, I am waiting. So, those ones are also waiting.
Okay.
People have gone to court. When the court decides, because we all respect
money.
the court, we will buy.
Your Excellency,
Yes.
you have been elected for the first 5-year term. I want to bring in an aspect of your election that perhaps would be of interest. There's something that happens in this country, political patronage. Already we are seeing conversations going on in your own party, for example, with Nairobi County, and I know my colleagues will talk about it, where Johnson Sakaja is actually put on the chopping board. We supported in this election. You have to do our bidding. But my question is, based on some of the proposals in the past, for example, the BBI proposed 7-year term. Straight after your swearing in, there was an outrageous proposal on removing the term limit, which you rejected as soon as it was mentioned. But my question is, would you, now that you sit on that seat, would you propose, for example, that what was being mooted then, a 7-year term, for example, an amendment of the Constitution, a single term for the president, ends this patronage so that you are not heavily burdened by the next election in 2027? So, you know, I have a 7-year term, 1 term, I'm gone. Would you say that would be important to end this culture of political patronage?
I don't have the monopoly of making proposals. for changing the constitution. I have made mine. Why don't you make yours? Including even that one. That's okay. There's no problem. Let us all, because the constitution is not about a person.
Yeah.
So even Ken, that suggestion you are making, you can make, or others can make whatever they want, whatever suggestions they want. It will be assessed on its own merit. It will be processed by the structure provided by the Constitution, either as a parliamentary initiative or as a citizen initiative, whatever. So there are many proposals that can be considered. I have made the ones that I think, for me, from where I sit, my desk, I want the issue of two-third gender sorted out for two reasons. Number one, I made a commitment to women of the Republic of Kenya. And number two, I found a challenge on the desk left by Uhuru Kenyatta on dissolution of parliament on account of failure to have two-thirds. I have an interest from where I sit as president. I have an interest in accountability. That's why I'm proposing that let us have ministers go to parliament to answer questions. I have an interest in accountability. That's why I want the leader of an office be created of the leader of the opposition so that my challenger is not left addressing people in funerals. At least he has an office and a bureaucracy to support him.
Mr. President,
I have to ask this question.
No, I'm just saying,
yes.
We create a forum, a respectable forum for the alternative government, to also function, so to keep government on.
Okay, Mr. President,
and I'm telling you,
yes,
when I talk about creating an office, I am not talking about creating a job for a person.
Okay, Mr. President.
I am talking about creating an institution that will outlive all of us and support the delivery of government services by keeping the executive on check.
But are you captured as a politician with patronage? Are you captured or it's okay? It's a phenomenon that is accepted.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Politics world over is about interests. Politics is about interests. So you can never have politics that don't have interest. Even the reason people vote for me is because they have an interest. Mtu ana time, asila fund, nitapata hapa. Hapa, nitapata mambo yangu ya ile universal. Hapa, iko maneno yangu ya kilimo. So people vote for interests. And for the case you have mentioned about Nairobi and what have you,
yes.
That's a political challenge we have as a party. We will sit down as a party and sort it out.
Okay.
We have the acumen to do it. We have a new governor in Nairobi. There are issues. He's trying to do this, he's trying to do that. Some he gets right, some maybe he needs a bit more consultation, something like that. And that's why I am there.
You're micromanaging the...
I will, no. We will support all our governors. Some of them are making the right decision. Some of them are not. We just managed to, do something about Meru. In fact, as I talk to you now, there is a conversation with Meru leaders, which my deputy is going on with, to make sure that we support them politically, because the governor does not have so much experience in managing.
So you need to manage that.
So we have to help.
Mr. President, I understand that we are out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to hand over to our lead moderator, but we've been here for, I think, over 2 and so hours.
Yes.
I haven't seen the office of the first daughter. We'll finish that as you take us home. Where's that office situated?
Leave my daughter Charlene alone. These are kids. They are just, they are just being children.
Okay.
So very well, James, that there is no such office. This is a girl who is just being herself, a child. She has this space with her colleagues. Colleagues are pushing her. Oh, maybe we could do this. Maybe we could do this. But she's okay. She's just
tapping into the privilege.
She's just being the daughter of William Ruto, and sometimes she doesn't know the divide between the president and the father. So
all right, Mr. President, we have less than a minute, and let's use that to look at. You promised that there would be 50-50 gender representation in cabinet. You have 15 male CSs, 7 female CSs. You have 39 male PSs, and 12 female PSs. What happened?
I could have done better. But, you know, as I told you, police is about balancing many things. You're balancing regions, you're balancing age, you're balancing this, that, the other. And, you know, there was even a very interesting scenario. One of the female governors called me and told me that, please make so-and-so PS. And of course, he was pushing for a male person. So I told her, Governor, I already have problems, you know, with the women. Instead of you pushing me to appoint more men, you should be pushing me to appoint some more women. So that is why, part of the reason why I have appointed a gender advisor in my office, because I intend to pursue this thing beyond the appointments I have made in cabinet and in PSS. I am pushing the agenda of two-third gender rule so that we can sort out and expand the space of women beyond the appointments we are making, so that we can create that much more room.
Mr. President, thank you so much for your time. And thank you, the viewer, for supporting us with sharing some of the questions. And Mr. President, there's been a lot of interest on this. Some negative, some positive, but I think it is the work of the President.
I am used to that space. So thank you very much, Sam, and your team, for also finding time for us to have this conversation. And thank you very much, the great people of Kenya, for listening to us. My assurance is that we will not drop the ball, and we will make sure that we discharge on our commitments.
All right. From the rest of us, it is good night. My name is Sam Gituku from Citizen TV. Bye for now.